Perfect. We are here. So good to see all of you. Just so that we know that this is saved for perpetuity and all of that. Not just on YouTube, but now will be saved in the archives and will possibly make its appearance on sound streaming platforms at any moment. Could happen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is See Through, your podcast with me, Achutagopi, where we have all of you as guests every week, and we have as our supreme, most awesome guest, Sri Krishna, in the form of Krishna book. Srila Prabhupada has spoken in the Srimad Bhagavatam, just in the first canto, and he has said that there is really no difference between reading these sacred spiritual literatures and having direct contact with the Supreme Person. Specifically, they talk about the lip touch of Krishna and his wives. And so Srila Prabhupada says that there is no difference between reading this sacred literature and the nectar from the lips of Sri Krishna. If that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what will. It is something that is extremely sought after and rarely obtained, and yet all of us have the opportunity to obtain it. I'm Achita Gopi. If you are new, if you're not new, thank you for being here and for being a regular. Whether you're joining in our Patreon room or whether you're joining live on YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. You all are most esteemed guests, and I'm happy to be with you. So if you are new to all of this, there is a database where you can find Krishna book. I will be putting the link to that database, which is free. So there are no excuses. If you think, what can I do? How can I read along? I don't even have the books. There are no excuses. Sorry, you're already set. You have to join in. And if you can't read along, the best thing is to just sit and listen happily, joyfully. It's a service for me. It's a service for all of us. And of the processes of bhakti, just remembrance can perfect our lives. How simple is that? You've got hearing and chanting. So hearing, you can just listen. We've got chanting, reciting all of these wonderful pastimes, but just remembering is devotional service. So sometimes we can get on ourselves thinking, I haven't performed any devotional service today. But if we have remembered Krishna, we have. And nothing can stop us from just taking a second out and saying, Krishna, I remember you. Huh. It's just that simple. Go figure. Sometimes you think it can't be that easy. Yeah, it can. Krishna is that special. So we have been reading Krishna book. We left off reading about Aghasura. Krishna killed a very, very large snake, some 8 miles long. And that was just the beginning half of his day. Imagine you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, I'm going to go to work. And then instead of going to work, your job is that you've got to vanquish demons, which are bigger than anything anyone's ever seen, and save the lives of your friends, all before lunchtime. Friends who kind of die. And you really do have to save their lives, all before lunchtime. So where we left off was Krishna had killed this demon, and now everyone has a full appetite. Their appetites have revved up. They're now feeling as though, okay, we're ready to eat. And so now we can find out what else happens in Krishna's day. So we are still in Krishna book, and we are in the chapter entitled, we are still in the chapter, The Killing of the Aghasura Demon. So the demigods became overwhelmed with joy and began to shower flowers on the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna and thus they worshipped him. The denizens of heaven began to dance in jubilation, and the denizens of Gandharva Loka began to offer various kinds of prayers. Drummers began to beat drums in jubilation. The Brahmins began to recite Vedic hymns, and all the devotees of the Lord began to chant the words, Jai, Jai, all glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I like these lines because they remind me that everyone has a place in Krishna's pastimes. Everyone has a performance structure, right? Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has something that is necessary to Krishna's pastimes. So even if you think, I'm just a drummer, but these are the drummers who would come and announce that Krishna has done something wonderful. Even if you think, oh, I just write poetry, I'm just a writer. But these are the people who would immortalize all of Krishna's activities and tell them later on to all of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Later on, we may hear of two court poets that Nanda Maharaj has. And one of them is Snigdhakanta and the other is Madhukanta. And they both regale the court with pastimes of Krishna every evening, especially after Krishna leaves Vrindavan, in order to go to Mathura and kill Kamsa and vanquish demons and perform the prophecies of his birth and all of the important things that he has to do away on business and yada, yada, yada. When he has to go and be a big man instead of just a regular village boy. They regale Nanda Maharaj and all of the inhabitants with Vrindavan. This is how they kept themselves alive, by hearing the poetry of Krishna's pastimes again and again and again every night. And they would think, tell us more, tell us more, tell us again. So if you think these are stories I've already heard, it's okay. The inhabitants of Vrindavan are just the same way. We've heard them already. Tell us again though, because they get sweeter and sweeter each time they're told. So everyone has a purpose. And that purpose is necessary to Krishna. You are necessary to Krishna. It's not as though Krishna thinks, oh, I can just do without that person, it's fine. Every living entity is necessary to Krishna. And Krishna thinks, but I don't want to do without that person. I don't want to do without their service. When Lord Brahma, creator, grandfather of the universe, heard those auspicious vibrations which sounded throughout the higher planetary system, he immediately came down to see what had happened. He saw that the demon was killed, and he was struck with wonder at the uncommon, glorious pastimes of the personality of Godhead. The gigantic mouth of the demon remained in an open position for many days and gradually dried up. It remained a spot of pleasure pastimes for all the cowherd boys. The killing of Aghasura took place when Krishna and all his boyfriends were under 5 years old. Children under 5 years old are called Komara. And after 5 years, up to the 10th year, they are called Poganda. And after the 10th year, up to the 15th year, they are called Keshora. After the 15th year, boys are called youths. So for 1 year, there was no discussion of the incident of the Aghasura demon in the village of Braj. But when they attained their 6th year, they informed their parents of the incident with great wonder. The reason for this will be clear in the next chapter. For Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is far greater than such demigods as Lord Brahma, it is not at all difficult to award one the opportunity of merging with his eternal body. This he awarded to Aghasura. Aghasura was certainly the most sinful living entity, and it is not possible for the sinful to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Aghasura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful reaction. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity, or in the shape of a mental form, are awarded the transcendental goal of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think I will read that again. Persons constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity, like Govindadev, who is present behind me, who I'm often thinking of. I'll just so that we can all see. Constantly thinking of the eternal form of the Lord in the shape of the deity, or in the shape of a mental form, are awarded the transcendental goal of entering into the kingdom of God and associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How miraculous. All we have to do is remember Krishna. Even in a mental form, it's enough. That is worship enough. So as we go about our day, every so often we can check in with the Lord within our minds, within our hearts. Oh Lord, are you still with me? Am I still with you? Are we still on this journey together? Or have I forgotten you this day? So we can just imagine the elevated position of someone like Aghasura, into whose body the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna personally entered. Great sages, meditators, and devotees constantly keep the form of the Lord within the heart, or they see the deity form of the Lord in the temples. In that way, they become liberated from all material contamination, and at the end of the body enter into the kingdom of God. This perfection is possible simply by keeping the form of the Lord within the mind. But in the case of Aghasura, the Supreme Personality of God had personally entered. Aghasura's position was therefore greater than the ordinary devotees or even the greatest yogis. Maharaj Parikshit, who was engaged in hearing the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna, who saved the life of Maharaj Parikshit while he was in the womb of his mother, became more and more interested to hear about him. And thus he questioned the sage Shukadev Goswami, who was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam before the king. King Parikshit was a bit astonished to understand that the killing of the Aghasura demon was not discussed for 1 year until after the boys attained the Pogand age. Maharaj Parikshit was very inquisitive to learn this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. I would have thought we would have paused and thought. Okay, first of all, he killed this demon snake, huge dragon-looking thing, when he was under 5. I don't know, I'm still a little bit impressed and amazed. Granted, Maharaj Parikshit has been hearing that Krishna even killed a demoness at the age of 3 days old. So he's like a veteran in the business of demon killing. Like he's like seasoned. Been there, done that, all before lunchtime, no problem. I'm still kind of amazed that he's not even 5 yet. He hasn't even been given the job of herding cows yet. He's still just herding calves. Like this is still like child's work. He hasn't even been given like the big job yet. Although he gets to herd cows when he's 6. But he's 6. Have you ever seen a 6-year-old near a full-grown cow? It's a very like precarious situation. And not just one cow. There's some 900,000 cows that he is in charge of, and he takes care of them all. They do not make child labor like they used to. Because I can tell you, if I sent a 5-year-old, go herd cows, it wouldn't work. First of all, the 5-year-old's not going to listen to me. The 6-year-old is not going to listen to me. And second of all, the cow is not going to listen to the 6-year-old. I don't know. But Krishna makes it all possible. And all of his friends make it all possible. Like it's not just possible for Krishna. Krishna makes it possible for everyone around him as well. Such is the miraculous nature of our Krishna. Difficult to understand, but it's fun to try. Even though we know that Krishna is inconceivable. So just as we start to get a glimpse of trying to understand him, then he does something else inconceivable, because that's nature. That's our friend. Just when you think you're going to understand him, he does something completely extraordinary that we just cannot wrap our minds around. Let's see what else happens. So Maharaj Parikshit was very inquisitive to learn about this, for he was sure that such an incident was due to the working of Krishna's different energies. Generally, the Kshatriyas, or the administrative class, are always busy with their political affairs, and they have very little chance to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. But while Parikshit Maharaj was hearing these transcendental pastimes, he considered himself to be very fortunate because he was hearing from Shukadev Goswami, the greatest authority on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, being requested by Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadev Goswami continued to speak about the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna in the matter of his form, quality, fame, and paraphernalia. It is significant that Parikshit Maharaj considered himself to be very fortunate because from an external point of view, he was dying rapidly. He had been cursed to die in 7 days, and he chose that time to sit down and hear about all of these miraculous pastimes. Now, he had been hearing for quite some time. There were 9 cantos or 9 kandas that had come before this. Now we are in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he had been hearing from Shukadev Goswami for quite some days. The time is ticking down. He is getting closer and closer to an inevitable end. Some people might think, how unfortunate. The time of your life is about to be over. But he considers himself to be the most fortunate because he gets to hear about all of these amazing and miraculous pastimes of Shri Krishna, a person who personally appeared to save his life. Amazingly, Krishna has somehow or other appeared in a variety of ways to save all of our lives. Do we remember, like Maharaj Parikshit? Or do we think that was just coincidence? Or even worse, do we think, I did that all myself? Duh. We've been sheltered every day. Our lives have been saved from so many catastrophes. We are actually right now in the most fortunate position we could ever be in. Whether we are working simultaneously or sitting or standing, or whether it is morning or afternoon or evening, no matter what, right now, we are in the most fortunate position that we could ever be in. Having taken the opportunity to sit amongst each other and even hear a partial pastime of our Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are as fortunate as Maharaj Parikshit. We are as fortunate as all of these sages who gather together. Thousands of sages gather just to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Shri Krishna. And now we have the internet. So we gather together in the most comfortable of situations. How amazing. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 12th chapter of Krishna, the killing of the Aghasura demon. And now we launch into chapter 13, the stealing of the boys and calves by Brahma. Shukadev Goswami was very much encouraged when Maharaj Parikshit asked him why the cowherd boys did not discuss the death of Aghasura until after 1 year had passed. He explained thus, "My dear king, you are making the subject matter of the transcendental pastimes of Krishna fresher by your inquisitiveness." And if we don't know what that's like, just imagine telling your favorite story to someone who is really eager to hear about it, who is just sitting there with every sentence. They go, okay, well, what happened next? Well, why didn't they talk about it? What do you mean they didn't talk about it for a whole year? Krishna killed a demon and no one said anything in the whole village of Vrindavan for 1 year? Why? What happened? Tell me what else. You find that time constraint, thirst, hunger, sleep deprivation, none of that means anything when someone is so excited to just hear from you. Whenever I think about being too tired for for see-through or spirit matters for that matter, which is another podcast that we do daily. But whenever I think about being too tired, I think about all of our friends who are just excited to hear about Krishna. And somehow I'm not so tired anymore. That eagerness, that inquisitiveness of others just to come and to hear about Krishna eradicates everything else. Suddenly it's not so important. It is said that it is the nature of a devotee to constantly apply his mind, energy, words, ears, etc., in hearing and chanting about Krishna. This is called Krishna consciousness. And for one who is wrapped in hearing and chanting Krishna, the subject matter never becomes hackneyed or old. That is the significance of transcendental subject matter in contrast to material subject matter. Material subject matter becomes stale, and one cannot hear a certain subject for a long time. He wants change. But as far as transcendental subject matter is concerned, it is called Nitya Nava Nava Yamana. Whew, it's a long word. This means that one can go on chanting and hearing about the Lord and never feel tired, but will remain fresh and eager to hear more and more. It is the duty of the spiritual master to disclose all confidential subject matter to the inquisitive and sincere disciple. Thus, Shukadev Goswami began to explain why the killing of Aghasura was not discussed until 1 year had passed. Shukadev Goswami told the king, "Now hear of this secret with attention. After saving his friends from the mouth of Aghasura, and after killing the demon, Lord Krishna brought his friends to the bank of the Jamuna and addressed them as followers. My dear friends, just see how this spot is very nice for taking lunch and playing on the soft, sandy Jamuna bank. You can see how the lotus flowers in the water are beautifully blown and how they distribute their flavor all around. The chirping of the birds along with the cooing of the peacocks, surrounded by the whispering of the leaves in the trees, combine and present sound vibrations that echo one another. And this just enriches the beautiful scenery created by the trees here. Let us have our lunch in this spot, because it is already late and we are feeling hungry. Let the calves remain near us and let them drink water from the Jamuna. While we engage in our lunch taking, the calves may engage in eating the soft grasses that are in this spot." On hearing this proposal from Krishna, all the boys became very glad and said, "Certainly, let us all sit down here and take our lunch." They then let loose the calves to eat the soft grass. Sitting down on the ground and keeping Krishna in the center, they began to open their different boxes brought from home. Lord Sri Krishna was seated in the center of the circle, and all the boys kept their faces toward him. They ate and constantly enjoyed seeing the Lord face to face. Srila Prabhupada says that to read these spiritual literatures is to see Krishna face to face. What a feast. And next week, I will go back towards Garga Samhita and others so that we can read about how the boys would take lunch with each other. Because those are some of my favorite stories. They talk about each other and they talk to one another. They don't simply eat. They have interactions. The boys are all eager to feed Krishna from their very own hands. And every mother in Vrindavan makes something extra for their child in the hopes that they will feed it to Krishna. Everything in Vrindavan revolves around the hope that someone will do some service that will somehow make it to Krishna and make Krishna happy. There is one mother, and her son happens to look a lot like Krishna. And she thinks, "I will name this boy Krishna." But Krishna is also named Krishna, so maybe everyone will get confused. So instead, she names him Little Krishna, and he is called Stoka Krishna. And so this is Stoka. So even naming all of the cowherd boys, they think, I just want you to become Krishna's friend. I just want you to become the most dear to Krishna. And indeed, Stoka Krishna follows Krishna around like his shadow. So everything in Vrindavan revolves around performing some service that somehow or other will make it to Krishna. The inhabitants of Vrindavan think, let us have children with the hopes that they will become Krishna's friends. That this one child will somehow become so dear to Krishna that Krishna will keep this child with him always. That will be our service. Imagine serving one another, serving with each other, thinking somehow or other we will come together and make this work and Krishna will be happy. This will bring joy to Krishna's face. He will smile at our service. All of the birds that are cooing, the peacocks that are calling, the fruits that are being offered, they are now offering up all of their service just in hopes that Krishna will acknowledge it. And indeed he does. Krishna spends so much time talking about the atmosphere in Vrindavan. Why? He is appreciating every service, even the service of the rocks, the service of the grass. He's saying, look what a wonderful spot. My calves can eat this grass right here. It is just soft enough for them. Imagine offering up your life for Krishna's calves. Just soft enough. Because those calves will eat the grass and they'll grow big and strong into cows that will then give milk. That will then create the most wonderful sweets for Krishna. What a purpose. What a life's mission. Everything in Vrindavan works on somehow, some way, through some miracle. Maybe we can just give our lives to make Krishna happy. And just that desire is enough. Imagine. So they ate, constantly enjoyed seeing the Lord face to face. Krishna appeared to be the whorl of a lotus flower, and the boys surrounding him appeared to be its different petals. The boys collected flowers, leaves of flowers and barks of trees, and placed them under their different boxes. And thus they began to eat their lunch, keeping company with Krishna. There are so many places. There's a place near Govardhan. And this place has the impression of the thali, or the lunch tray, of Shri Krishna and Balaram. And I think it is called Bhojan Stali. So this place has the impression of the thali of Krishna and Balaram. So in our minds, we can journey among the different caves and the forest areas of Vrindavan and Govardhan. And we can journey to this place where the boys and Krishna would have their lunch. We don't have to be in New York or New Jersey or Brazil or Virginia or the Pacific Northwest or wherever we happen to find ourselves. Now we're all transported to Vrindavan. Just through the medium of the mind, it is enough. And it all counts. So now we get to see Krishna in the midst of all of these boys, looking like the brilliant whorl of a lotus. Each boy looking like a petal, fanned out around Krishna. Some of them have scarves that they've placed below them. Some of them have wonderful grass that they placed below them. Some of them have tree bark that they placed below them. And now everyone is eagerly unpacking their lunch, waiting to see, oh, what has my mother or even grandmother packed for me today? And what will I share with Krishna? While taking lunch, each boy began to manifest different kinds of relations with Krishna, and they enjoyed each other's company with joking words. While thus enjoying lunch with his friends, Lord Krishna's flute was pushed within the belt of his cloth, and his bugle and cane were pushed on the left-hand side of his cloth. He was holding a lump of foodstuff prepared with yogurt, butter, rice, and pieces of fruit salad in his left palm, which could be seen through his petal-like finger joints. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who accepts the results of all great sacrifices, was laughing and joking, enjoying lunch with his friends in Vrindavan, and thus the scene was being observed by the demigods from heaven. As for the boys, they were simply enjoying transcendental bliss in the company of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I like that line. As for the boys, they were simply enjoying transcendental bliss in the company of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They didn't have to think about it. They didn't have to think, oh, is this the right way to respect Krishna? He was just their friend. Simple. Simple-hearted. They just accepted that Krishna was their all in all, their dearest friend, their most beloved companion. Not only did they accept that Krishna was just their friend, but while they were all eating, they also thought, Krishna's only looking at me. Krishna's only sharing my lunch. Imagine, all of these boys have brought lunch. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that there is an uncountable amount of boys that are there. And they all think Krishna has somehow forsaken everyone else's lunch. And now Krishna is only eating from my hand. Such is my Krishna. And such is my friendship with my Krishna. Ayendra Prabhu would often think, if I somehow make a garland for Krishna, there is going to be an unending line of people with garlands waiting to offer their garlands to Shri Krishna. Wouldn't one think that Krishna would get tired of accepting all of these garlands? And some of these garlands must look the same. What happens when he gets to my garland? This is the secret joy of Krishna being Akila Rasamrita Murti. Being able to fulfill everyone's desires, still remaining complete, and still remaining hungry for every offering. He is unlimitedly hungry to receive the offerings of his devotees, which means that it doesn't matter how long I've stood in line to offer my garland. When I get there, it will be as though Krishna has never received another garland before. Krishna is that amazing. It will not matter how many garlands Krishna has received. He will say, oh, my friend, what have you brought for me? We'll see later how he addresses his friend Sudama. Oh, friend, you've come such a long way. You could not have come empty-handed. We know that you are always going to observe the rules of etiquette when it comes to appreciating and approaching a friend. So what have you brought for me? It is to this end that my mother says that you should never go to the temple empty-handed. Even bring an apple, some milk, our heart. Sometimes we take our tears. Sometimes, on some very intense occasions, we have nothing else to offer Krishna except our tears. And even that is okay. So, whatever you have, bring it with you. And no matter how many offerings Krishna has accepted before, this one, your offering, will be like the very first one of the day. That is our Krishna, ever fresh, ever new, ever eager to accept and receive our love. At that time, the calves that were pasturing nearby entered into the deep forest, allured by new grasses, and gradually they went out of sight. When the boys saw that the calves were not nearby, they became afraid for their safety, and they immediately called out, Krishna! Krishna is the killer of fear personified. Everyone is afraid of fear personified, but fear personified is afraid of Krishna. By crying out the word Krishna, the boys at once transcended the fearful situation. Out of his great affection, Krishna did not want his friends to give up their pleasing lunch engagement and go searching for the calves. He therefore said, my dear friends, you need not interrupt your lunch. Go on enjoying. I am going personally where the calves are. How sweet. Okay, can we take a second? How sweet is this little boy? You are Lord of the universe, and then you think, well, I don't want my friends to be interrupted in their lunch. Let me go and do the work. Seriously? I mean, not that we would be able to do the work without him anyway, but just the fact that he has that idea first. How sweet and charming is this little boy? And how amazing it is that he grows up To be such a troublemaker? but such a sweet boy he is. This is our Krishna. When we are in trouble, we can remember that Krishna is tackling the problem before we've even asked. The moment we find ourselves in trouble and we say, Krishna, Krishna's already handling the issue. Oh my Govinda, thank you for handling all of these issues so that I don't get up and disturb myself. It is absurd. And yet I still wind up thinking, oh Krishna, you are not handling whatever situation fast enough. I still tell Krishna, you're taking a really long time. My guy, what's happening? But really, he's been on the mission before I even knew about it. Thus Lord Krishna immediately started to search out the calves in the caves and bushes. He searched in the mountain holes and in the forests, but nowhere could he find them. At the time when Aghasura was killed, and the demigods were looking on the incident with great surprise, Brahma, who was born out of the lotus flower growing out of the navel of Vishnu, also came to see. He was surprised how a little boy like Krishna could act so wonderfully. Although he was informed that the little cowherd boy was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he wanted to see more glorified pastimes of the Lord, and thus he stole all the calves and cowherd boys and took them to a different place. Lord Krishna, therefore, in spite of searching for the calves, could not find them. And he even lost his boy friends on the bank of the Jamuna, where they had been taking their lunch. In the form of a cowherd boy, Lord Krishna was very little in comparison to Brahma. But because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could immediately understand that all the calves and boys had been stolen by Brahma. Krishna thought, Brahma has taken away all the boys and calves. How can I alone return to Vrindavan? The mothers will be very aggrieved. Therefore, in order to satisfy the mothers of his friends, as well as to convince Brahma of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead, he immediately expanded himself as the cowherd boys and calves. In the Vedas, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead expands himself in so many living entities by his energy. Therefore, it was not very difficult for him to expand himself again into so many boys and calves. He expanded himself to become exactly like the boys, who were all of different features, facial and bodily construction, and who were different in their clothing and ornaments and in their behavior and personal activities. In other words, everyone has different tastes, being individual souls. Each person has entirely different activities and behavior. Yet Krishna exactly expanded himself into all the different positions of the individual boys. He also became the calves, who were also of different sizes, colors, activities, etc. This is possible because everything is an expansion of Krishna's energy. In the Vishnu Puran, it is said, Parasya Brahmana Shakti. Whatever we actually see in the cosmic manifestation, be it matter or the activities of the living entities, is simply an expansion of the energies of the Lord, as heat and light are the different expansions of fire. Thus expanding himself as the boys and calves in their individual capacities and surrounded by such expansions of himself, Krishna entered the village of Vrindavan. The residents had no knowledge of what had happened. After entering the village, Vrindavan, all the calves entered their respective cowsheds, and the boys also went to their respective mothers and homes. When they were mentioning that Krishna was very small in comparison to Lord Brahma, I remembered that he was 5, just under 5. There's this little boy, and there's big, extravagant Lord Brahma. And this little boy now is in a quandary. I've lost my friends. I can't seem to find them. Can't go home without them. And this little boy has a startling solution. Just become all of them, no problem. It is no problem for Krishna. And just as we see that Krishna has expanded easily because everything is an expansion of Krishna's mercy and energy, I am often reminded, if I ever wind up saying anything that is resonating with you, I can assure you it's not because of me. It is because Krishna is having an interaction with you. Perhaps he has inspired something that I've said. And I know it is always inspired by Krishna because I will forget. And some people will say, oh my gosh, and I remember, and you said that. And I'm like, I've forgotten already. My memory is faulty and short-lived. But that interaction is Krishna interacting with you. I promise you that. And so it helps not to get very prideful. It's not me. It's Krishna that you're seeing. You are seeing that spark of Krishna's splendor. And how amazing is it that Krishna can choose to interact with you through anyone, anywhere. I feel fortunate that maybe today he's chosen me. But make no mistake, if it's not me, it will be someone else. But Krishna will make his presence known in your life because he's present there. He is expanded to be with you in your life every day. All it takes is us training ourselves to be able to see him. One wonderful secret of this year that Krishna winds up expanding himself. Spoiler alert, he expands himself for a whole year. And one of the most amazing things is that he enters into Vrindavan, and everyone, all the mothers had been thinking, if I could just have a son like Krishna, that would be amazing. Everyone was thinking, whenever we go and we see Krishna, we are always sad because Krishna has to go home in the evening. He has to go to sleep, and then everyone is somehow separated from Krishna. If only we had a situation where we did not have to be separate from Krishna. And this is why this episode is entitled Krishna Fulfills All Desires. Because for this year, Krishna is not separated from anyone. Every single mother in Vrindavan who wanted to have Krishna as their son got Krishna as their son, which includes the cow mothers. They also had this desire within their hearts, if only I could have a sweet child like Krishna. And so Krishna fulfills all of their desires all at once. Want to hear another secret? It is also within this year that all of the cowherd men are inspired from within to think, our young gopi girls have come of age. I think now would be the time to formalize their marriages. And so this is the year that all of the gopis' marriages are formalized with all of the gopas, none of which are actually present because they were all stolen. And so all of the gopis' marriages were formalized to Krishna. How amazing is that? It's wonderful. I remember when I was young kind of being a little bit upset with Krishna because I really felt like, I was like, the gopis, they gave you their all. They gave you their everything. Okay? From the time that Radharani was born and she wouldn't even open her eyes because they gave you their everything. And then Krishna says famous verses like, oh, my dear girls, I can never repay you. You simply have to be satisfied with your own devotional service, because how can I give back all of what you have given to me? And I thought, what do you mean how? You're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can fulfill all desires, and you can have an exchange with anyone, everywhere, at all times. And you mean to tell me you can never repay them? Are you going to try? Like, we should at least try. We shouldn't just leave it at, I can never repay you, napari hum, you know. It's like famous Bhagavatam verses as the pinnacle of sweetness. And I was always kind of like, say what now? Maybe we should try and repay them. I am a lover of the more sassy camp of gopis. I bow my head to Lalita Devi, who always has these questions and is very hot-tempered and will argue with Krishna on any given occasion, sometimes just to give joy to Srimati Radharani. But these are the questions. What do you mean you can't repay them? Did you try? Like, I think you could try harder at being the supreme person as you are. Just a thought. So when I found out the information that this was the time when all of the gopis' marriages were finalized, I felt a little bit better about them all having these so-called husbands. That I was just like, what is happening here? Krishna, what is the deal with you? But really, he fulfilled all desires this year. So many things happen in that year, but that is one of them. And that is the most beloved secret that I hold dear to my heart for that year. That is the year where I really feel like Krishna redeemed himself, because it was looking bleak. It was going downhill for him in my eyes. You know, I was really about to jump off the Krishna train. Like, I don't know, we're not cheering for him anyway. We can't be Team Krishna because I don't understand what's happening, but Krishna saved it. And that is always how it will happen. Just when we think in life that things are kind of going downhill for Krishna, we start to wonder, am I doing the right thing with this whole bhakti thing? Like, should I maybe try and worship somebody else? Krishna normally swoops in right then and tends to save the day. What can I say? He's dramatic and he loves the drama. So the more intense the drama is, the more he loves the pastime. Like, why? Just why? And it didn't even start then, you know? Like, it from the beginning of time. Oh, all of the demigods have lost all of their wealth and possessions. Let's churn an ocean of milk. Simple. And like, but as if that weren't enough, you know? Like, okay, now we have to go get Vasuki in order to churn this ocean of milk. And we have to get a solid gold mountain that's going to sink. And then everybody's going to be like, everybody's going to be intensely hankering for Krishna's mercy. What are we going to do? We feel like we're going to be crushed underneath a mountain. Okay. Krishna will come and save the day. No problem. Kurmadev makes his advent. But as if that weren't enough, like you would think like that's enough drama for one pastime, correct? Not for Krishna. No. Because now the mountain is beginning to slip off of the back of Kurma. So now what? What do we do? Krishna says, no problem. I will appear on top of the mountain and hold it steady as well. Enough drama for Krishna? No. Because they began to churn and then everybody got tired. Oh, Krishna, what can we do? We have no strength left in our bodies. Krishna says, no problem. I will appear as Ajita and I will personally churn the mountain for you. So Krishna is below the mountain. Krishna is above the mountain. Krishna is churning the mountain. Lord Vishnu is also standing on the side, watching all of the proceedings happening. Right? Enough drama? Not for Krishna. No. Because the first thing that comes out of this wonderful ocean churning is poison that can kill everyone in a second. And then they all rush to Krishna. Well, what should we do, my Lord? Can you help us? I could, but I don't want to. Instead, let us all go see Mahadev. I'll lead everyone there. So now Krishna is above, below, churning, leading to go to Mount Kailash to go see Mahadev, to get him to swallow an entire universe worth of poison. Still not enough drama. We have all kinds of things coming out of this ocean. Horses and divine elephants and Lakshmi Devi. And then finally we got Dhanvantari with the pot of immortal nectar. No problem. Enough drama? No. Then the demons steal it, and we have to come into the whole Mohini Murti. We have to do a whole literal song and a dance to make this pastime happen. There's been like 6-7 different incarnations of Krishna all roaming around in one. Dhanvantara is an incarnation of Krishna. Mohini Murti is an incarnation of Krishna. Kurma, we've got Ajita, we've got the Krishna above, we've got Krishna, like, how? So, our lives are gonna seem dramatic. And that's normal. If it's not dramatic, then we should expect the drama. If it hasn't been dramatic in a while, we should know that the drama is coming, because Krishna is so dramatic. And he has such a flair for the dramatic. He has been doing this to his devotees since time immemorial. I'm sorry. There is no hope of getting through this life without the dramatic situations. You think Krishna is going to appear in his original, undiluted, full concentrated form. I will appear as Krishna, no problem. But then we have Devaki and Vasudeva. Why are you troubling them? Because, he could have appeared as the first son. Could have appeared as the first one. No. Let's wait 8 years. With the trauma of Kamsa killing babies. This is a problem. In a jail cell. And then when you think, okay, finally, he'll make his appearance. At midnight, in the midst of a hurricane rainstorm. Who does that? Who does that? This poor lady. And she's going through the whole birth and the whole everything, and then finally she's got this baby, and take me somewhere else. And then bring back another baby. So if our lives seem like they are quite dramatic and we never know which turn they're going to take, then we should know we are on the right path, because that's how Krishna does things. I don't know anybody else who 3 days old, let's kill a demon. 3 months old, let's kill another demon. Like, a whole cart fell on this poor baby. And he did that himself. Like, I am baffled sometimes. Completely and utterly baffled by the drama that he cooks up every day. And my Guru Maharaj says that he would find new ways to transcendentally stress out his mothers every day. And so just when we think, okay, fine, Krishna, I've already surrendered. We are at the point of surrender. I know you are in charge. I'm following your plan. Smooth sailing. That's normally when the road gets even bumpier. That's Krishna. We will read later, Rukmini writes him a letter, and Krishna waits until the last possible moment, just before she feels like maybe she's gonna faint and give up her whole existence, before he shows up and then whisks her away in a heroic move never before seen. You could have shown up sooner. You're God. You could show up anytime you want. He waits until the very last moment, and she's there, and she's been having faith this entire time. Krishna will come. Krishna will come. Krishna will come. But then there's a procession. Okay, there's another bridegroom that is coming, and they're getting closer and closer. Everybody's assembled. This is the last possible moment, and now she starts to think, Krishna hasn't accepted me. Maybe Krishna isn't coming. Maybe Krishna won't be here. Well, maybe it's time to give up my life now. And she has to go with the faith that Krishna will come. Krishna will show up. Some sources say that from her window, just before she was on the verge of an unconscious collapse and a mental breakdown, she sees the peacock feather of Krishna, and that helps her. Where is that peacock feather in our lives? Just when we think all hope is lost, if we hold on to that hope, past that last moment, past the moment where we think, I have nothing else to give. If we hold on, we might just see a miracle. We might just get a glimpse of Krishna's peacock feather. So, Krishna has the ability to expand himself into our lives unlimitedly. He will also bring lots of drama. But I guarantee you, if we hold on, we'll see a peacock feather. So I know that we are eager to see how Krishna solves this one, because it is a special weekend. Why not? We'll continue tomorrow. We'll just show up here again tomorrow. However many of you can. It'll be a special week for see-through, because I'm feeling a little bit addicted to this Krishna book, and now I really got to see what's happening. And also, the prayers of Brahma have started to kind of speak to me a little bit more. When I was younger, you kind of just rush through them, and you also kind of feel like, when will he stop talking? Fun fact, Krishna also felt this way, because he's a little boy, and he's 5, and he was previously eating lunch. So after this whole thing wraps up, Brahma will be offering prayers, and Krishna will kind of just be like, anytime you want to finish and let me go back to the playing that I was doing would be great. Anytime. But these prayers will hold some really, really cool lessons for all of us. Lord Brahma is speaking on behalf of us all. So, I really hope that you can join me tomorrow. Same time, same place. We will all be together. And I kind of can't wait to see what we uncover. I'm really, really excited to continue going on this journey, because I love it. So tomorrow, we'll dive back into the pastimes. We'll go back to Bhojan Stali, and we will see how Krishna and Balaram eat their lunch, and the different things that happen while they eat their lunch. They have some really awesome conversations. I am eager to relate those conversations to all of you. Krishna's pastimes are ever fresh, ever new, and really, really unlimited. Just when we think we've heard one before, some new detail pops up, because that's Krishna. So I thank you all for being with me. Let's keep an eye out for those peacock feathers. Let me know how one pops up in your day. And maybe tomorrow I'll let you know how one pops up in mine. Because now that I've said it, I am sure somewhere, somehow, in this day, I'll find a peacock feather. I'm eager to see which miracle Krishna will show me today. So I'll report back tomorrow with our miracles, and we will continue this endeavor of this yajna of enjoyably relating Krishna's pastimes. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Krishna Book ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glories to our virtual Vrindavan Dham and to our virtual pilgrimages and parikrams that we go on. Such a pleasure to be with all of you. Thanks for making my day a little brighter. Thanks for engaging me in the service. See you all here tomorrow.